What's up, everybody?
Welcome to Arise and Shine.
We are back. We're back.
Yes, you didn't say it this time.
I didn't.
No.
I can't give it to y'all every time. You know.
Every now and then.
Every now and again.
But we are doing a new thing. You can
Yes.
see the set looks a little different.
Mm-hmm.
We're making some slight changes, and we thought the best way to kick that off would be with an awesome power couple. So we have here with us today Savion and Simone Rogers.
Yeah, hello.
And actually, Benicia, you introduced me to them.
I did.
Talk about how you met them, because I would love to know that.
Absolutely. So a previous guest, you guys all know her, Dio, are friends of Savion and Simone. And so we all end up going to the same church, ironically.
Yeah.
Well, not ironically, because we know God does everything.
That's right, intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally. And so I met them and I instantly fell in love with them. I thought that they were such an amazing couple, to be so young, to be so focused and sold out for Christ. And not only in a spiritual sense, but they have so much going on in the world. They are entrepreneurs. They have clothing lines. It's just, they are a force to be reckoned with. And I just told Tanya that they deserve a platform. And so here we are today.
Here we are today.
Yeah.
And watching Savion's face and your face while she was describing you.
Yeah, I'm flattered.
That's me.
Yes,
She's like,
there
"Oh,
is. Let's speak on it now. There's a lot of power in those chairs right there.
Mhm.
A lot of great things to come.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, I mean, even when Benicia approached you, you know, to talk to you about the show, tell us what drove you to say yes, and back that up with what drives you. Period.
Well, I'm more of a behind the scenes, quiet person. So I mean, in my head, I'm like, what? But I knew being comfortable is not where I'm going to grow at. So I'm getting more comfortable with telling my story, my testimony, and knowing it's for somebody else. So I said yes to just, get out of that comfort space.
Right.
Yeah.
Good for you. So proud of you.
Like I said before we started, I don't know how I feel, but I know there's a purpose for it.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it's touching somebody.
We're stretching you today
Oh,
because you gotta be
definitely.
loud and you're on camera and the whole nine.
Yeah.
Thank you for your yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
Yeah. And when she told me, I just like to talk. So I was like,
You was
talk.
in.
Alright, let's go. Because I like to tell my story to everyone. I mean, it's just phenomenal how my life changed. It's amazing.
So let's talk. Okay, so there's so many different facets to your story. So let's just go down a journey. Okay, so you're 26 and you're 25.
Yes,
And you met in college.
yes,
And you were good friends first,
yes,
but you wanted to come out of the friend zone.
yes.
So let's just.
I want to hear Simone's take on that because she started giggling right away.
Let's talk about that a little bit because you have such a great history. So how long have you been married?
We've been married for a little over a year. It was a year in September.
Okay.
But we started dating December 2014.
Okay.
And before we started dating, we have been friends for about 6 or 7 months or so. I mean that friendship just was cultivated so quickly. We became so close so fast. But before that, we knew of each other. On campus, we knew who each other was. We had mutual friends, but we never actually hung out together or anything of that nature.
When I first encountered Simone,
Oh,
it was
he
actually-
encountered you.
Oh yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is real right here. Good job.
An encounter.
the first encounter I had with her was I was being goofy. I'm a silly person, so So one of my friends, she actually knew. And, you know, HBCUs, we have like a promenade, you know, that we stand on, try to look cool, you know, wear fly stuff. So we sitting on the side and she comes up to him, talking to him, and I'm butting in a conversation. Like,
I did not appreciate it.
I'm just getting on her nerves, she rolling her eyes, like, I'm just butting it over and over.
It's working. It's
Yeah.
working.
You're like, who is this dude right here?
That's
so,
good.
yeah.
But yeah, from there, we were actually on summer break. I was back home in Maryland at the time. And he started commenting on my pictures on Instagram so much me to text him. And I'm like, so I just ignored it. But then he would another day go back to another picture and like text me, put his number there.
Oh. So you were persistent.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember this friend he's talking about, I actually ended up texting him like, you know, he's reaching out to me, tell me about him. Who,
That's
like,
good.
is this somebody I could talk to? And he literally said, I have nothing bad to say. And he knew of other guys I had talked to previously, and he's like, he's different from them.
Wow.
Like, all right. So I just went ahead and texted him, but I didn't think anything was gonna come of it.
Right.
I was honestly just like, okay, it's something to do while I'm home, or somebody to talk to.
Right.
So we started texting, and then just even in the text messages, and then we started talking on the phone, and the conversation was just different. You know, things he would ask me just to get to know me, I'd never been asked before.
Wow.
And I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, this is kind of weird. I'm just thinking, like, this doesn't happen. Like, from there, we started FaceTiming, and we were just the whole summer, every day, pretty much all day long, we're talking to each other, getting to know each other. And so when I actually came back to Atlanta a little earlier, because I had got a job, so as soon as I got back to Atlanta, we ended up planning to just like hang out. Maryland to Atlanta is about a 12-hour drive.
Right.
Took that drive all the way by myself. So I know I'm like super tired when I get there, but I know we're gonna, you know, just chill and watch some movies. And I ended up like literally knocking out snooze like the first movie.
First conversation we had was like snores.
I'm around somebody I like. I'm automatically like not going to sleep around because I know I snore. Like things you don't want them to know. It's just like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. For me to like just knock out. One, I was super tired, but I just, even though we were cultivating this friendship, I just didn't think it was gonna be more than that. So I was already super comfortable around him. And from there, just like I was having car issues right after that. So my car ended up going out, and I didn't have a way from my apartment to school to work, and he literally just would pick me up every morning from my apartment, take me to campus, pick me up from campus, take me to work, pick me up from work, take me back home, come back and do it the next day.
And there was really
God dropped a gift in your lap.
absolutely. So what was there was really no motive. I mean, I know you liked her, but it was genuine that I just want to help her. Is that right?
Because I wanted to, it seemed like the more time we spent together, the more I could talk to her, you know what I'm saying, and get to know her, we could laugh. So it wasn't like, you know, your typical, you know, guy-girl situation where the guy's doing all this stuff to get something back. It was more like, you know, if she needed help, like, she didn't have guys to call on. So I felt like I had to take the responsibility to be that guy. You know, her family's all the way in Maryland. You know, I'm the only really guy friend that she has that's like really close to her.
You felt compelled to come.
Yeah, so I
And
was
I
like,
didn't understand that, like why he was doing that.
Because you hadn't had that before.
Right.
yeah, so I was like, whatever she need, I'm gonna do it. And then it was like, you know, I was blessed with a free car at that time because my brother was, he sold cars and he fixed them up, and he does that to this day. So I remember I was itching for a car in high school. And then once I went to college, he actually gave it to me. And I was like, oh man, like I got a car now. So it was like, you know, in this moment, I got something that I didn't pay for. I don't have a car note on it, you know. And it was a hoopty where you like rolled up the window.
Right, it was working, right?
And when it rained, you gotta roll it down.
Yeah.
It rained on me a little bit. But you know, we went through that together. Like
Right.
we was in the car, it would fog up. I would tell her roll down the window, and she'd roll it down like no issue. Like you know, it was just like we was in the trenches together for sure.
I love
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, that is
able to
so.
be there for each other. Like, I mean, even with housing, he was going through housing issues at the
Right.
time, and just like he had to pay to wash his clothes, things like that. Or he didn't have money to buy food, but yet he's running gas. He never asked me for gas money. So I just went, okay, well, bring your stuff over. You can wash your clothes. I'll make
Absolutely.
something to
Yeah.
eat. And we were just, it was just friendship. Like, we weren't asking each other for anything more than that. Even though in my head couldn't comprehend it and felt like, okay, he has to want something.
You
He has to.
kind of somewhere in there waiting for the shoe to drop.
Right.
Right.
Right. I remember one day he brought me home from work and we haven't even got out the car to go in the apartment, and I'm just automatically like, I was like, I'm not having sex with you. And he's like,
That's
like
the real
months have
Simone.
gone by, and I'm like, I know it is coming.
So what did
So I'm gonna put it out there.
I was
I see your
like,
dimples with it real deep just now.
you know, it caught
You
me off.
reminisce.
It definitely caught me off guard. I was like, where did that come from? Like, you know, and I was just like lost for words in that moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's not really. What did I say to you?
You were like, okay. I was like, I just want you to know, like, I'm being celibate, blah, blah, blah. So I'm married. He was like, that's fine. I'm like, well.
You're like,
This guy's really weird.
no matter what I say, no matter what I do,
He's still
he's
got me.
constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so because we have so much to talk about with time, I know
Yes,
we're going to
and
talk about the
time.
business and stuff, but I want to know, because I know the story, I want to know how did the switch happen? Because Simone, it took you a minute, right, to really, the light bulb to go off like, no, I like this is a gift right here.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did that happen?
I'm getting comfortable.
Yes.
So even before all of this friendship happened, I was in a place where I was just kind of tired of the same cycle I was in. And I remember praying and asking God just to send me a friend that didn't want anything from me. I just want somebody that I could just hang with, and that was it. So when he did send Savion, it happened so quickly. It's like, I guess I anticipated, I knew God was gonna do it, but I'm thinking like down the road,
Right.
I'm gonna be, maybe mid-20s, whatever the case may
Send
be.
me a friend, God.
Yeah.
Okay. Send me a friend, God.
And it literally happened so quick that when it came, it was scary for me
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
because I never seen it, and I don't know, maybe I just wasn't ready, but I started to run from it. Even after he had asked me to be his girlfriend, we're dating at this point. After a couple months, I kind of started to run from it. I would find a reason to like maybe argue, or eventually I ended up breaking up with him.
And it wasn't your typical like, will you be my girlfriend? It was like, I gave her a ring, a promise ring, and everything. Like, we were in the car because I worked at
Where's the tissue set?
I worked at Pandora, and they have like princess rings and stuff like that. So being that I worked at Pandora, I got a discount on it, and I was like, I should be my girlfriend. I'm gonna give her a promise ring. And I was trying to wait till we got in the house, but I was like, I got something for you.
We had a traffic light.
Yeah,
So you get the best
get
one.
it out.
You couldn't keep it in his pocket anymore.
I love it.
For sure.
So so I knew God had told me he was the one. And I remember like texting my mom one day, like full tears, knowing that he was sent to me. But it was like, no, I'm not ready. No, I'm scared. And so we did end up breaking up, but we still remained friends. He still started to kind of pull back from me. And so I graduated. So I was a year ahead of him. I graduated, and my job offer was in Charlotte. So I was going to be leaving Atlanta. That was another reason. I'm just like, well, who does long distance doesn't work anyway?
So they tell me.
Right. And he's like, we can make it work. And I'm like, nah, we're not.
So he was willing.
Yeah.
He never wanted to be broken up or
Right.
anything. Okay.
Because I felt like I would rather try and it didn't work
Yeah.
rather than you just like,
Give up.
right,
That's
you know,
good.
I would have like took it like, oh yeah, it didn't work out. You know, if she went and was like, yeah, you know, I'm doing this, or we don't have time for each other, or this and that. But she was just like ready to like cut it right then and there, and that's really what made me,
Yeah.
you know, in the situation kind of angry. It's like you ain't even gonna fight for it, you know.
Wow.
But
Which is usually the opposite.
Yeah.
It's usually the woman
That wants you to fight.
Right.
That she's fighting for you.
Yeah.
And the man doesn't want it. You know, that it's so ironic.
It is.
It's completely.
What emotions were you feeling? Like, okay, so you've been this steady friend, you know, and not that you both were blessings to each other, because obviously you were, but you were steady. You knew what you wanted. So it wasn't, whether it was scary or not, you like, I'm going for it. This is what I want. So how did it feel? Because that was sort of a rejection, I'm sure. So as a man, what does that process look like? Because as women, sometimes we don't think men feel that way, or they
I'm
cry,
sitting
or
here,
they're
she
sad.
was saying he pulled back, and
Right.
I'm thinking, of course, my
Yeah.
heart. It's
Yeah.
hard. At that point, I love her to death, but
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah, I mean, initially, when we were friends, like in the relationships that I had before, it was like I didn't take the mess serious. So when we became friends, I felt like my loyalty was different. You know, it was a different type of loyalty, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I actually know this girl, and I know where she came from. You know, I know what we went through, and you know, so when she made the decision to do that, I was like pretty hurt. You know, because I mean, I felt like giving all my loyalty like to this person, and you know, she just like cuts it off, don't want to fight for it, and all of this. So I'm like, yeah, I was hurt in the moment. You know, I actually called my mom because me and my mom have like a very, you know, my mother's boy.
I see them.
Yeah, you know, my mother's boy. So my mom actually she knew about Simone, and what my mom used to do while I was in college, she would take me places, and we'll go on dates. She'd say, you should take Simone here. I got a place we can go this weekend that you could take Simone. I'm like,
that's so
she was like, I'm gonna
sweet.
show you, and then you could take Simone. So she knew about Simone, and she knew that she made me like really happy. So my mom was invested in, you know, me keeping this girl. You know?
That's so good.
That's another thing.
That's deep.
And I've not been married, but usually the mom on the other side is like not your best friend.
Right. That's
You know, not
yeah.
always looking out for, let's say, the woman that's gonna take her son away. You know, because the mindset's different.
Yeah.
So for her to be pouring into you like that as a mom, especially having that safe place to go and let her know you're hurt,
Right.
she could have came back and said, well, I knew that girl wasn't good, but I knew that.
Yeah.
But you
The
didn't
thing
have
that she
that.
said to me was, you know, the famous, if you love her, let her go. That's what she said. And I was like, you know, I was crying on the phone with my mom. And then in that moment, she said, if you love her, let her go. If y'all meant to be together, y'all gonna be back together. Don't worry about it. And I said, okay. So I started crying, and I called her right after I got off the phone with my mom. I was like, okay, I'll give you, you know, what you've been asking for, because it was like I never agreed to it. You know, she's like pulling away, and I'm like, nah, like this how we not going out like this. And that's when I talked to my mom, and she instilled that in me. So.
That's awesome. Having counsel is
wise.
so awesome,
It's
because
so
a lot of people don't have a place to go where they can,
That's true.
you know,
Very
do
true.
that. And sometimes when they don't, then they'll go to their buddies or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like sometimes the worst place you can go.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It's sabotage.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So there's so many individuals that relationships are just so important. Like as human beings, we can't get away from relationships.
Right.
And so what I want to know is you're so mature for your age.
Yeah.
And when the rejection came, what stopped you from like, I'm about to go out and just be with whoever I want to be with, or do whatever I, want to do? Because typically when people are hurt, they
That's
begin
what
this pattern of hurting people.
Yeah.
So, with you didn't grow up with your dad, correct?
No.
Okay. So where did the maturity come from to
Emotional
operate?
maturity.
Yes, to operate in the manner that you did, because that's not what you did.
Yeah, right. So it was more like I was revengeful. Like I wanted revenge, but it wasn't like I wanted revenge to go get another woman. It was like I would mess with her because we friends.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I know
So
she
went
gonna
back
call
to
me.
that.
I know she gonna want to call me. I know she gonna want to talk because that's what we started at. You know, so if we're close friends, you know, so me, I just stopped answering my phone because
She said that earlier. He pulled away
Listen,
from it very
that's when that
quickly.
light bulb was like, wait, I don't like this.
It's like, wait a minute, he's
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah, like I need
you
you.
know.
Yeah, and I was like petty with it. Like,
He was petty.
He's confessing.
He was petty, y'all.
I was petty with it. Like on her birthday, like the day of her birthday, I said I'm gonna call her at 11:59.
Like,
Like,
ending
on
my
the
birthday.
day.
Oh, so the whole
Day.
day.
Yeah.
Were you waiting for that?
I was.
Girl.
So yeah, I mean, she called me like at 11:30. I couldn't even get to 11:59. I was crying. Like, you wasn't gonna call me, and I'm like,
I was intoxicated at that point.
Not that your birthday call.
Right.
and she crying. I'm like,
That's
well,
some feelings.
you know, I'm not.
Yeah.
And exact words I said to her, I said, well, I'm not obligated to call you, right?
But you
She
supposed
still
to be
did the
friends.
neck back. She
Yeah.
still did the neck back.
Yeah.
You bought me a ring. That's what you just said? Since she pulled the ring out.
So yeah, you know, I was definitely like, I'm gonna show her, you know,
This is
you
so
can't.
real, Savion. Thank you for sharing, being so transparent, because most guys wouldn't,
Yeah.
you know?
He's
Yeah,
amazing.
for
They're
sure.
amazing. I love it.
So I was like, I'm gonna show her, you know, that she needs me. Like, the only way that you get to know if you need somebody is if you don't have them.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like she can't break up with me and still have the luxury of having me. You know what I'm saying?
So those are boundaries. A lot of people don't even understand how you have to set boundaries because your heart, I'm sure, was fragile.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, I can't just let you in and let you out. You want to talk to me today? You don't want to talk to me? Like, no. So let's talk about, okay, so y'all wasn't in Christ then. You didn't have a relationship with Christ. You're working through all of this.
Yeah.
You recognize that, hello, I'm not going to find anybody like Savion. So you call him.
Yeah, so, you know, in those moments where he's kind of like not communicating as much, because I honestly did still think we're still gonna talk every day. It was kind of like I was trying to have my cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
So when I wasn't able to do that, I'm here in Charlotte by myself. So I had more time to think, and that's also when I was starting to try to build a relationship with God. So I was reading more and things like that. So I ended up going to Atlanta, I think for New Year's or something like that. And so we ended up hanging out, going out for New Year's. And from there, I don't even know really how we ended up just saying, okay, we're gonna get back together and try to start.
We didn't. It was like,
It just happened.
Organic.
We didn't
she
actually talk about
apologized.
it. I
She was
did.
crying. I hugged her. I said it's okay, and then from that day on,
Wow.
she apologized for her, and you know, I'm sorry I hurt you.
Because I was really taking advantage of it.
Right.
That's so big of you though, you know? And to honestly, to me, in a relationship, you know, you love each other, but also you're building and things are new. And it's really hard to be vulnerable.
That's so true.
You know, especially on the side where you feel like you're the one that wronged the other person. To step back and say, you know, I'm sorry, I messed up.
Yeah.
And where do we go from here? That's huge.
Humbling.
You know, very humbling.
Very humbling.
I mean, that's the benefits of being raised by a single mother, because my mom always instilled, don't hurt a woman. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like she was trying to make her man, which is me and my brother, into the man that she always wanted. So,
That's awesome. You probably
yeah.
make a lot of single mommies cry because they know what's making cry. Okay.
Well, I can attest to that. That is so true. 'Cause I have a son who's your age. Exactly. As a matter of fact, 25. And you're absolutely right. You know, even without, I used to tell my son all the time, even though his dad wasn't physically in the house, does not mean that you can't benefit from having a mom to tell you how women operate and how we think and how we feel.
You actually got a great inside track.
Right, exactly. So to this day, he'll call and say, you know, Mom, A, B, and C happened. And I'm able to be like real and transparent. She's a woman. This is what she's feeling. So that's awesome.
When you go through the process where your mom is trying to find the love of her life, and you know, it's like hit or miss. It's like she only can tell you what these guys aren't giving her. You know? So it's like she, you know, that's what she instilled in me and my brother, and that's what we became. It was like, my brother's married now, you know, with kids, so
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So where did Christ come in? And then Tanya's gonna do her thing because she is all about this.
I want it all. I want relationship. I want
marketing,
Christ,
like everything that they do.
right? I want to talk about that too.
Yes.
But talk about your God moment.
Right.
That's why we're here today too.
Yes. So Simone, she was actually, you know, she used to go to church in Atlanta actually, and I would go with her.
I could tell he didn't want to go, but he was going just because.
Right. I was just going. So I was just going, you know, spend that time. You know, I was all about like spending time with Simone.
Now you a mom at God's Kingdom University.
Exactly.
He had a plan.
So she was dragging me to church. Not dragging me, but you know, she go, I'ma go.
Right.
You know. And then when we came to Charlotte, she was going, and then I'm big on like message. You know, I'm big on if I ain't leave the church with something. You know, then why did I go?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The same way.
I could have sat in my bed and watched somebody that would have actually gave me a message rather than going, and then I'm just kind of like clueless on what the pastor was talking about.
Right.
So she would still go though. She would still push through and try different churches. I mean, we went to like at least 6 or 7 churches before we found our church, and it was like, you know, we're going to all these churches. It was draining for me, and I'm like, I don't want to go to church, and like I'm just tired of going to church, like just trying churches or whatever.
You know what, Savion, let me interrupt you real quick because I've been hearing this come up over and over again, specifically for millennials, that the church is a place where you guys are struggling to find your place, and then stick there, because when you do find it sometimes, it doesn't embrace you. So talk a little bit about that, finding that church. What was maybe broken in some of the churches, and then the one that you did find, what makes it work for you?
Well, some churches are judgmental off the top.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just be very transparent about that.
Yes.
It's like if you're not a member, if they don't know you, it's kind of like you already like your stuff stank. As soon as you walk in and they're just perfect, you know, they're just this angel. And when you walk in, you can't be like them because they've been going to church for 5 years or more, you know. And it's like when I go in, it's like I'm looking for, because my grandmother, my grandfather are church members. My grandmother's an usher, my grandfather's a deacon. So I'm looking for love like my grandmother would give.
Right.
You know, when you come in, she, oh hey baby, you know, hugging you.
Church mothers.
Yes, we love church mothers.
Yeah, it's like you don't really have those, and it's very little.
In the churches of today.
Right.
It's
You know,
missing.
right. You know, the ones that if you ain't wearing stockings, they tell you to wear stockings.
Come on now. I'm against the stocking ministry. Like,
It's got its own ministry.
Listen.
It's the stocking ministry.
I don't rebel a lot, but that stocking ministry, I'm not.
See the work there, see the work there.
Yeah, but it's all love when they tell you, you know, when
No,
they
I
tell you,
agree.
you know, like, baby, is your skirt a little short?
That's right.
Yeah, they pull the kerchief out and lay
Lay
it on your
lay it
leg.
over you.
Right, so I was looking for that type of love, and I was looking for a bigger message. Like, I'm fired up when I leave, and you know, and that those churches was actually missing that. It was more of a fluff church. It was more of a we just gonna scream and shout church, and it was like the message wasn't sticking, you know, and that's what was missing for me. So that's why I wasn't fired up to go to church or anything, because I wasn't getting that. You know, I could pull up somebody that's more powerful, you know, like scripture wise and message wise on my phone, you know, and stay at home and, you know, watch that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. How'd you feel about your journey through finding a church home and alongside him too, because you were seeing some of the responses he was having?
Because I grew up in church, but my relationship with Christ was more riding on the coattail of my mom and my grandma. You know, this is what they did. This is what they said. We're going to church.
Yeah. So you were finding yourself in Christ.
Right.
Personal relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So even though I was going to church in Atlanta, it was because that's what I do. I go to church on Sundays.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was in Charlotte and I was placed here really in a place where God just had me alone, me and him. And one of my friends actually ended up asking me to go to a women's conference with her for a church. And I was telling somebody the other day, I actually did not want to go. I came up with every excuse of why I couldn't go.
That's when he said
Coming to a wedding, I'm saving for a wedding, can't go. But she ended up saying, well, I'm paying for you to go. So it's like, how do you try to do that?
Right.
But I had been hearing from God trying to pull me in a different direction, just from, you know, friends I was hanging out with, just things I was doing in the world that, you know, I would still go, but I was in those moments still feeling convicted, like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing anymore. So when I went to the conference, it was powerful, and I ended up rededicating my life at that moment.
Wow.
But even then, I came back to Charlotte and kind of just fell back.
Right, got caught up, right.
So now after we were engaged, he moved here, and so now we're trying to, you know, build, and so I'm like, we have to go to church. Because being out of church for so long, I mean, especially when you're such a baby in Christ, you need that community, you need people to hold you
Say that
accountable.
again, that's right.
So I knew I needed something because I couldn't do it by myself. I wasn't strong enough in my faith and things like that. So I'm like, I need to be around people that are, you know, like-minded in Christ and able to help me grow. So I started getting out trying to find churches. Like I said, he didn't want to go, and so it was a battle on Sunday mornings to, you know, want to get him to go. And that was hard for me because I'm like, well, God, I know I'm supposed to have a man of God that's supposed to lead me, but how does that work? I know you told me he was supposed to be my husband.
But it's not nothing quite like a picture.
Exactly.
So the romance is good, and all of that other stuff is working. The dimples are working. It's all working. He knows how to treat a lady.
Right.
Father God, help me. Help him recognize you.
Especially when he's pulling me in that direction.
Right.
I'm like, well, what about him? Shouldn't we be doing this together? So we're going to these other churches, and I mean, like he said, I was leaving and I wasn't learning anything. You know, you may feel good in that moment, like, but you leave, I'm like, what? Did he read a scripture? Did he have any context?
Like, you know, I see people running around, but what do you have?
I have
Monday through
many
Saturday.
of those.
Exactly. I gotta go back into the world. I need substance.
Yes.
You know?
So we just weren't learning anything, and so really how we even ended up at the church we're at, going back to Dio, Dio and I actually had lost communication at one point. She had got a new number, and that just didn't transpire to me getting it, but she had kept coming up in my spirit to reach out to her and to ask her to go to church. Because she had, when we used to work together, we ended up actually living in the same apartment complex, and at that time she was asking me to go to church with her, and I didn't want to go. Wasn't that I didn't want to go to church, it was, I guess I have this in my mind that I didn't want to go to a really big church, so that's really what I was saying, no, I didn't want to go. So like a year or so later, when God is telling me reach out to her and go to church, I'm saying like, Lord, I don't want to go to church. But I did reach out to her, but I wasn't getting any responses. So one day I get on Facebook, and if you know Facebook, if you don't have Messenger, you're not getting the message.
Right.
So I didn't have Messenger on my phone, but I happened to get on my laptop this day, And so I have a message from Dio. And she's like, hey, I've been thinking about you.
Look at God.
And
Come
Facebook
on, God.
recommends you as a friend. And I was like, well, I have been trying to reach out to you.
Yes.
She's like, oh, I got a new number.
God is so amazing.
Oh yeah, it's very,
Just
very
makes things
strategic.
come
And
together.
yeah, so she told me she got a new number, so we ended up reconnecting. I was like, I want to go ahead and go to church with you. She's like, oh, really? You want to come this Sunday? I'm like, sure. She's like, okay, this is the church I go to. I'm like, oh, you don't go to that church anymore. So I'm like, okay. So I ended up looking up the church because I knew he was already in a place where he was like tired of trying different churches. So I looked up the church and they had some sermons online. Looking at it, and it was powerful. And I'm just like, it was like you're able to connect, and I already was getting something from it. So when we went that Sunday, again, I rededicated my life, but this time it was different. Like I genuinely wanted to do it. I was ready to walk in a different direction in my life. I also ended up getting filled with the Holy Spirit that same day.
Yes, come on.
And I didn't know what to do with that. I'm asking questions afterwards. I'm like, am I supposed to know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what I was thinking. Like, I'm supposed to know what I'm saying.
So it's gift of tongues.
Yes. So I didn't understand that, but I filled with the Holy Spirit. So now I'm like, all right, again, Lord, I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to really walk in this direction. We're at this church that I like, and he said he enjoyed the service, so we were talking about, okay, we're gonna go back. But we were actually going for maybe a couple months before we joined.
You got a powerful word,
Yeah,
like confirmation about
getting
who you
prophetic
are.
words about, very on point about where we were in our lives. And then after several months, we were leaving church one Sunday, and he's in the car. He was like, "So, when you want to join?" I had already been thinking in my head, like, when are we going to join? But I had in my mind, like, I was still learning what it was to be a wife and be submissive and the man leading. So I'm thinking, like, he's got to tell me when we're joining this church. So I had already been thinking, like, I want to join, but I'm waiting on him.
Absolutely.
So when he's like, "So when you want to join?" I'm like, "I'm waiting on you." And he's like, "All right, we're going to join on Wednesday." So that's how we ended up, getting connected with the church we're at now. And then from there, eventually, even after that, then he rededicated his life. And then so from there, we just started trying to read together. Especially when you're new in the Word, you don't understand what you're reading, and it's easily to give up. Like these hard words, all these names you can't pronounce. You get sleepy when you read it.
So it's better to do it together.
Yeah, and we're just gonna try it. Let's just keep doing it, even though we may not completely understand what we're reading at that moment. I think keep going.
Yeah.
Because you make it fun. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're reading with your partner or your spouse, it's like you ask questions that you wouldn't ask in a Bible study. You know what I'm saying? It's like you could be very transparent with each other to say,
That's true.
well, what's this?
Don't
What does
even
this
make
mean?
sense.
Hold up, baby.
And then we can really just talk about what you read.
And that's bringing you closer together, not just physically, but spiritually.
Yeah.
That is
And
so
it was building up
fabric.
because we had premarital counseling. So it was like that incorporated God in our marriage. And it was like it was still there, but it was like the church home wasn't there. The frustration of church with me was there.
Right.
So it was blocking the connection of everything that's
You did pre.
So I'm like frustrated with, finding something. So when we found that, it was like the all falling in place.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys have stepped out on faith in other areas too. So not just relationship and finding a church, but both being entrepreneurs. So you're both entrepreneurs, young, loving God. Let's move into talking about your businesses.
And as I like to say,
Yes.
I've coined your water waters.
Yes.
Jesus said, "Come," and you did. Right? But the difference with you guys is that you're doing it together.
Yes.
And a lot of times with couples, it's one person in the relationship stream, and the other spouse just jumps on board, and they pursue it together. I remember we had one couple on, Catrice and Savion. And basically, yes, you know, they basically, she said, you know, I bought into the vision. And that's what made them even more solid. You two have bought into each other's vision, right? The bravery and the courage that it takes to be an entrepreneur, fortified by Christ, but walking that water every day, not knowing what's coming, and still having different roles. Because I think we talked earlier, you talked about the roles you have.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys probably can see it just from the time we've spent with them so far. They're visionary and, what would you say, a leader.
I don't
But-
know what I would call it.
You-
But I keep it
you
grounded
keep it
with
all
all
Yeah, I
these
feel like,
issues.
I feel
Right.
like she's
She
like
keeps it
the
together.
foundation of, I'm like the fireworks, like, and she's like what ties the fireworks together, so they not like
They don't go
splatting
all
out.
over the
You know what I'm
place.
saying? It's like that control
Yeah.
to say, okay, like one at a time, or
Right.
like, make sure this one launches off right, you know.
Yeah.
So
Because he can get the vision, but I'm like, okay, well, how do we get there?
Right.
Yeah.
The details of
Yeah.
when, where, how,
Right.
all of those things.
And we're not a married couple, but we play some of this stuff out because I will
Absolutely.
come. I'm always with the next.
How you like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, oh my gosh, and I'm like, yes, but, yes, but. So I understand.
It works. Like
It does work.
Business
Yeah, it works.
relationships
It works.
too. It's like you want to have that person that balance you out.
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yes.
And like, cause if you had us two together, it's like
Oh Lord.
the room gonna blow
We be
up.
living in the shelter, trying to find bread. But we have some great ideas.
And they're good.
Yes, they
We
do.
just gotta work, we're the executors.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So-
we take the vision and we say, okay, this
Yes.
is how we should execute. But it works, it's a beautiful relationship.
And I think too that the visionary part is even harder when and you have this. That's why when I saw your bio, I was like, wow, Simone is a strong woman. Because you're like me, you're left brain, right brain.
Mhm.
You're creative and you're also thinking of things and how does this work, how does it, so you engage both your creative as well as
Yeah,
the
yeah,
logical
yeah.
side of your brain.
Yeah.
Just from some of the stuff we shared with them, like, oh my God, he just like me. But that, I mean, that's awesome because in your business, which is childcare, and the exact name of your company is what?
Mensch Childcare Services.
Easy to remember, people.
And where can they find you?
So I am on Facebook. It's at Mensch Childcare Services. So I have my own business page on Facebook.
Awesome, awesome. And you, sir, are in music.
Yes.
You have a clothing line, which you guys are modeling now. Is that
Yeah, that's
Yeah, this is one of the
awesome? And the name of the clothing line, I love. It's absolutely unique. I want you to talk about that and where you came up with it.
Yeah, so it's Mensch clothing. Mensch means a person of integrity and honor, a responsible person. The slogan for the clothing line is "Be responsible for being you."
Wow.
I like that.
So it's a Yiddish word, it's a Jewish word. But how it came about was I was looking for something that would be unique. I was looking for simplicity with a big bang. So I was studying like other clothing brands, and you have like Fendi, Gucci, different things like that. And they're very successful, but they're simple.
That's true.
You know?
Mhm.
And it's like, what makes it different with Mensch is, if you look up Gucci, if you look up Fendi, what does that word mean?
Right.
You know,
No substance. to
nothing,
it.
right?
Gotcha.
So it's like, with my clothing brand, it gives them something that they can wear and feel good in it and look good in it.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, I know what this means, so it's gonna make me even feel even better when I wear it.
That's good.
So, and then once I started, you know, once God came into the picture, it was just like, it all made sense because the word is a Jewish word and it means person of integrity and honor and a responsible being. So it's like it was only right to incorporate God in the line because I mean, why? I mean, it's
Yeah.
God, you know?
It's God. That's how we roll.
That's right. And it's a conversation piece.
Yeah, it is.
Like, so I like clothing that's a conversation piece. So even when I was looking at your sweatshirt, I was like, I don't know God's Kingdom University. I'm like, is that a real
Yeah, this is actually new, brand new, like a couple weeks new, because what we're trying to create is the love and the glory that goes into a school, like a HBCU or UNCC or a sorority or a fraternity. It's kind of giving God that glory back to say, okay, God's Kingdom University is being a steward of your word. So, you know, reading your word, talking about the word, and it's like how it came about is because we'll be in church, and I don't know if you see us in church, but we have our notebooks. You know, we got the glasses like down here. And, you know, it's like, you know, the pastor.
In your word.
Yeah, it's like the pastor's your professor.
Right.
Yes.
You're writing all of this stuff down, and it's like, it's the only, God's Kingdom University is the only school that doesn't put you in debt and get you out of debt.
Ooh, that's good.
So,
Come on.
Yes.
Where do they go to buy all of this wonderful?
Yes.
yeah, so
please
I
share
have
that.
a website, it's Mensch Clothing Store, so it's www.menschclothing.com, and then on that it's originally a custom clothing brand. So I have t-shirts on there right now, but there's a custom form that you can fill out, and you just tell me exactly what you want, whether you want something of your own to say it on there, something special for another person, you know, the God's Kingdom University, or whatever. I'll create it and get it done.
That's awesome. We're gonna make sure that we put that in the comments so that you guys can go directly to both of their pages and spend some time. I mean, I have people come to me all the time, do you know of anybody, you know, that can, my cousin's trying to go back to work, she needs somebody to watch a baby or whatever. So definitely our listeners, you know, could use both resources.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna use yours, 'cause I want that.
Yes.
I want that.
And the other twist, not necessarily a twist, but you know what I love is when we're talking about stepping out on faith, because Simone and I work for the same company, and she took a huge leap of faith and quit her job and started your business, which is not only commendable, but then to have a husband to encourage you and be able to, like he was speaking to earlier, is to push her out and to have that support system to say, we can do it. Not you can do it, but we can do it.
Right.
How scary was that, just quitting your job?
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he wasn't the one to encourage me and push me out, I might still be sitting at that desk right now.
Like I am. Not for long, though. Not for long.
Because I think I was sitting in disobedience for a little bit of time. Yeah, because I knew, one, I was just like miserable at my job at that point. Like I would pull in the parking lot and sit in my car crying, trying to get myself together and walk into the building.
Wow.
Like I just can't even explain how I was feeling. But I knew God was telling me it was just go. It's time. Just trust me. But it just kept coming in my head. But how do I make the money I'm making now? Because I was making pretty decent money. Just like I'm gonna take a huge pay cut. How I'm gonna do this? How I'm gonna do that? Again, me trying to control things instead of putting it in God's hand and trusting Him to do what He told me. And then for Him to be like, do it, just quit. Let's start it. Like I've got it. We'll do it together.
I've got it. Yes, God. We want to hear
We'll
those
do it
words.
together.
I got it, man, please.
Because it was like, you know, I was already, you know, you're in a situation where you're married, you know, and your wife makes more money than you.
Right.
You know, so I felt like God was putting me in a situation to say, it's time to step up, man. You know, like let her have pushed the pressure on me was good pressure, the pressure that I needed. Because I started getting complacent, I started getting comfortable that my wife is making more money, you know, than me. And I started, you know, doing that. And it was like, when she said it, I was like, it's the first thing I said, quit, do it. Go ahead, you know. And I was like, what you want to do first? Like, let's do it. Let's put it together, you know, and let's bring it into fruition and get it done. And I was like, I'd rather you have your happiness than, you know, you sitting there crying, and, you know, can't barely function. You come home from work. Like, it's different with a man. It's like a man, yeah, we feel those same emotions, but it's not gonna really like make us emotional or get to the point where we can't even function at work or we're crying. It's like we're a little bit more masculine to push through and say, you know, I'm gonna get out of this situation. And you know, with her, it was really getting to her. So I was like, I would rather see you smile and we figure it out than you cry in the morning and, you know, we got money. You know what I'm saying?
That's so powerful.
It is.
Because we live in a world that money equals, people think that money equals contentment and money is happiness, but because we have a different mindset, especially having the mind of Christ, we recognize that no, purpose is what makes you happy.
Exactly.
So even in the natural, if I'm making a less, but I'm walking in purpose, I feel a greater fulfillment.
Yes.
And then the God that we serve, he's just that good that as you walk in purpose, finances will come.
Amen.
He's so good.
Oh,
He just wants us to line up, like you said, and be obedient and trust him. And so I applaud you both for being young, for being surrendered, for being fearless. Doesn't mean that fear doesn't come, but you choose to keep going and keep moving. And you know, I just see a legacy already being built.
Yeah,
You don't have
so
children
awesome.
yet, coming soon. But I just see the it's so much bigger than you. And we live in a world where it's time for millennials to show up and change some things that have been, you know, stagnant because we just want to do things the same way. So,
I applaud you too. Incredible.
Incredible.
Just when I say walk, you're the epitome of walking.
Yeah,
You really are.
that's right.
And you're holding hands and you're still walking. Waves and no waves.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's because it was, you know, he push you through, and you know, without him, we wouldn't have had to make certain decisions. You know, he'll make the decision for us. You know, and like you said, like once you walk in and changing lives and helping people, because you know, we through our companies, we don't finesse people, we help people. You know, we try to see what they need and meet them at where they can meet. Yes, you know.
That's so
And
good.
it's like once you're running a business where it's solving problems and not pulling money,
Come on.
God will just say, here's money.
Yeah.
It's almost like a ministry. It's business, but you're doing it, the motive behind it isn't just I want to make money. It really is, I want to push the kingdom forward. I want to provide an excellent service. And like you said, pushing the kingdom forward.
Right.
So I'm just so excited that you made a decision that whatever you do, it is going to bring God's glory. And so it's just very commendable what you're doing. And I'm excited just to be able to go along this journey with you.
Thank you so much for having us take part in your mission as you walk through things. Because to me, you guys are the epitome of water walkers.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jesus said, come and you. I always tell people, get out the boat. You know, you guys got out the boat, hand in hand, and said, Jesus, we're gonna do this thing. You know, and I just love that. I love that. So I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to get my sweatshirt soon. We're gonna put everything in the comments for you guys, so you can find their businesses online, on Facebook, wherever they are. Please support them. They are up and coming entrepreneurs that love the Lord and are doing great things for the kingdom. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you. Come back and see us next week. Where will we be? Right here.
Right here.
Arise and Shine.
Stories of Triumph.
See ya.